Your state's most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, yesterday was signing day. We'll hear from some local athletes as they move on to the collegiate level. And the Trump campaign continues legal challenges to the election results in several battleground states. For our Something to Talk About, we're asking if you think the lawsuits will end up changing the outcome. You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
A little bit better than what we started off yesterday as we sit at 34 degrees from the Freeman Health System sky camera. Now, that east-southeast breeze is putting a little wind chill in there, so it only feels like it's 27 right now, but at least we're able to stay pretty much well above the freezing mark as far as our temperatures go, and we avoid any freeze warnings like what we had yesterday. Got some intrusion of cloud cover that's working off from the west and pushing across to the east. Now, this air mass remains pretty dry, so if we do pick up any sprinkles, it's not going to be until this afternoon. So for the bus stop forecast, we'll go ahead and call it clear and cool for the most part, with a little south breeze and all the way up to the 50s by 9, so that'll be delightful. And from the national perspective, still got that cold front. I mean, it hasn't budged very much, but here's the thing. We're still going to be able to make it up into the mid-60s later on today, even with the clouds kind of coming and going. So as far as what we've got on future track, like I said, any precipitation today is going to be a light sprinkle along I-44 and a little bit to the south. Waking up Friday, still pretty cool, and then as we work into Friday afternoon and evening, then we've got the thunderstorm development. Everything moves in from the southwest, carries us in to Saturday morning till it finally wants to clear out, and temperatures still not too bad though. I mean, nice little bounce back that we've been able to take care of for the 60s there once again on Saturday. It gets a little cooler next week, but I mean, nothing that's going to be eye-popping. You're not going to look at anything and be like, oh my, that's a huge cold front.
Pretty chilly though when it gets down to
Let's
freezing.
see, where are we? Let's see, we're still at 0.8. I like to do this on air. 0.62. So yeah, little rain, not going to hurt anybody.
Yep, we can use it, that's for sure.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Pittsburgh man says his daughter was asked to leave Freeman Hospital in Joplin because she had a service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went into Freeman for surgery in August of this year. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. And now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA.
The lady comes out, she goes, actually, so you're not allowed up here? This floor is off limits to animals. And I said, okay, well, my dog is a working service dog. She's a medical alert dog. I am disabled according to the ADA.
We reached out to Freeman Hospital, which provided us with this statement saying Freeman Health System complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act and recognizes the valuable role service animals play in the lives of our patients and visitors. Freeman takes any concern or complaint regarding noncompliance with the ADA very seriously and is currently investigating this complaint. A man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase in Summit County. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to the court documents, he threatened McCaskill several times. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threats of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. Pittsburgh State University held a virtual Veterans Day ceremony. The fact that it was virtual was not the only difference this year. The ceremony included 4 veterans who shared their experience in a documentary. Each veteran served at a different time, spanning back to World War II. The Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students. Folks at Miami High School had a drive-through celebration rather than their usual Veterans Assembly. Active duty service members and veterans were able to drive up and get a boxed lunch while students showed their appreciation with signs and thank yous.
I want them to know that we still remember them, even if we can't have that face-to-face interaction, and we can still acknowledge everything that they've done for us.
School district also posted a video of students honoring service members to their social media pages. Well, on this Veterans Day, 4 staters have been honoring past and present service members in a wide variety of ways. KOAM's Mike Mahoney introduces us to a 13-year-old from Girard who honored heroes with a set of bagpipes.
"13-year-old Orrin Weiss spent his Veterans Day in multiple southeast Kansas cemeteries doing the same thing, honoring our 4 state heroes with his rendition of Amazing Grace and taps.
It makes me feel very proud, and I would encourage people to do something similar if they can.
This young bagpipe player from Girard already has 3 years of experience, and he's also got a very proud grandmother who took him on his Veterans Day tour.
He's not that familiar with what the military does other than what he hears, and he's been very open to anything he can to honor the veterans.
And while his performances were for all veterans, Orrin did find time during one of his cemetery stops to honor his veteran great-grandfather, who's buried at the Garden of Memory Cemetery in Pittsburgh. After that, it was off to the PSU Veterans Memorial, and then back to Girard for one last set of performances, but not before giving KOAM viewers some parting advice.
If you have a veteran that you live just nearby, that lives nearby, I would just go and I would say thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done for me and all of our neighbors, and thank you just for everything.
In Crawford County, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
This was Orrin's second year honoring fallen veterans with his bagpipes. He played Amazing Grace and taps at cemeteries in Arcadia, Mulberry, Pittsburgh, and Girard. It's 5:07.
Gorgeous clear morning with temperatures ranging from the mid-30s to even 40 degrees. In Independence. Sunrise is going to be actually a little later than that. I got to change that. We'll see some clouds ebb and flow. They'll stay on the dry side. If you see anything, it's just going to be some light sprinkles along and south of I-44. 7-day forecast. We do have some rain that kicks in tomorrow evening, carries us into Saturday morning. Should be done with that by the afternoon and back into the 60s to start our weekend.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Pitt State takes on D1 school Stephen F. Austin this weekend. We're going to hear from the team on how they're gearing up for Saturday's game. Plus, we'll have the latest on election fraud results filed by the Trump campaign and how a Kansas man kept track of all the nurses that helped in his battle against COVID-19. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Pittsburgh State Gorillas with a unique opportunity this weekend, facing Stephen F. Austin on Saturday, the first ever meeting with the Division I FCS school. Pitt State defense took a big step forward last week against Missouri Western, allowing just 7 points. Excuse me. I got choked up because I forgot they gave up 31 against Nebraska Kearney. Oh, I'm good now. On offense, a little more balanced. Either way, whether it be on the ground or in the air, they've been pretty good on the offensive side. We're talking about a team that's racked up more than 800 total yards in the first 2 games combined.
When we're not doing so hot passing, we can run the ball efficiently and vice versa. I just feel like at any point we can throw the ball downfield if we wanted to, if we needed to, and make a play because we have that talent. We have the coach to put the plays into effect, and I really feel like if we need to run the ball, we can do the same thing.
The Saturday's game kicks off at 4 o'clock. It will be streaming on ESPN3. Yesterday, National Signing Day for high school student athletes and 2 Carl Junction volleyball players continuing their college careers. Jillian Kennedy signed with the Missouri Southern volleyball program, and then Salma Lewis, she's going to Springfield to play at Drury. Lewis is Carl Junction's all-time leader in kills, had more than 1,200 in her time at Carl Junction. Now, when these two head off next year, it will be their first time not playing together. Get this, These two have been joined at the hip on the volleyball court since the 5th grade.
I think it'll definitely be really weird, but I think that we're going to do a good job staying in touch with each other, and we're both really supportive of each other, so I think that we're excited to see each other move on with our lives and just start a new chapter.
She's been such a great teammate all these years, and I'm super proud of her, and I'm excited to watch her play as well.
They've helped develop the culture that we really wanted in our program, and it's been one that's been developing for about 5 years now, and the last couple of years have really seen a big swing in that, and they've been a big contributor to that.
The Missouri Southern Women's Golf Program picked up one heck of a player. It's McDonald County High School senior Lily Allman. She signed to join the Lions program. Allman, a 3-time state qualifier in her time at Mack County, including a 3rd-place finish in the Class 3 state tournament last month.
Being close to home was definitely key for me, but they just welcomed me in like family, and I think that just caught me, just right off the bat that I just wanted to be a part of something like that, and they have a really good teacher education program, and I plan to major in education.
In Neosho, 2 more student athletes signing to continue their respective careers in college. Abby Jarvis, she is going to play volleyball at Cotty College. And Caden Ouch is headed to the University of Arkansas Little Rock, where he'll wrestle. Ouch, a 3-time individual state champ for the Wildcats, looking for number 4 come this winter.
I mean, I wouldn't have those titles without hard work, so that's what I'm just going to take down to Little Rock with me, is just continue to work hard and continue to try and chase some excellence.
At the college level, I want to see how far I can push myself with volleyball and academics both. I think having that opportunity will be really good for me for growth as a person.
Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, an update on the Tokyo Olympic Games.
Despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the Olympic Games are still on next summer. How officials hope to create a safe environment for athletes and fans. I'm Rick Leventhal in Los Angeles. That story coming up.
And to check out our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 5:17 on this Thursday morning. Great time for weather on the 7s and a live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera where, the wind chill 27, but at least our temperatures able to stay above the freezing mark compared to what we had yesterday. 39 in Neosho, 39 in Neodesha, and 36 right now in Fort Scott. So for the bus stop forecast, it's going to be clear. It's clear right now. It's beautiful outside. Sunrise 6:54. Now I got that one right. Clear and cool early with a little south breeze. And I tell you what, another one of those mornings where if you want to get outside, find the moon, drop down from that. Great shots of Mercury and Venus. Now, if you're up in the northwest right there, you're going to have a little trouble with the cloud cover obscuring that view, as the clouds are going to move from west to east, kind of ebb and flow all day. We're not seeing any precipitation, though, involved in any of that. As a matter of fact, rain really just dominating the east coast right now, mid-Atlantic up to northeastern portion, and then still got some snow in the upper plains. And of course, down south, guess what's making landfall right now as we speak? It is Tropical Storm Ada, just making it over the Florida coast, headed pretty much on the north side of Gainesville, Florida. It's going to be a short affair as far as the amount of time it's going to be on land, but this is kind of interesting right here. Still tropical storm force, even as it crosses Florida right there. And so, of course, you've already got torrential flooding that's going to persist all the way through our Thursday. As far as our day planner goes, we're going to have temperatures that are going to be back into the low to mid 60s. See a little shift in the wind right there. Like I said, clouds kind of coming and going. If we see any sprinkles, it's going to be light, and it's going to be just to the south of I-44. So light, in fact, that Future Track really doesn't even show a whole lot of it coming down. Now, as we progress into Friday, start off all right. It's Friday night. Really evening, I guess, really not so much late night, but evening, we see development of thunderstorm activity off to the southwest. Going to see some heavy rain here that takes us all the way through Saturday morning. And then should be able to kick that out, at least the widespread version, by the afternoon. Still going to be pretty cloudy and everything, but temperatures not too bad on Saturday, all the way up into the 60s. Sunday, a whole lot more sunshine, but it's just cooler, back into the 50s. Time now for our KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. The Trump campaign targeting Michigan for a new voter fraud lawsuit. You also have allegations of voting irregularities in several other locations, and even an offer of a reward from one GOP elected official for information about fraud. All right, so to put all those details together, we sent Eric Shawn to Philadelphia.
As the vote counting continues, the Trump campaign presses forward with lawsuits seeking to challenge the election results. In Philadelphia, election officials push back against claims of voter fraud, saying there is no evidence of it, that they have checked each claim of a dead person voting and debunked it. And they say no illegal votes are being counted. That prompted President Trump to target one of the city's top election officials. He tweeted, quote, "A guy named Al Schmidt, a Philadelphia commissioner and so-called Republican, Rhino, is being used big time by the fake news media to explain how honest things were with respect to the election in Philadelphia. He refuses to look at a mountain of corruption and dishonesty. We win." But Schmidt has told me the vote counting is being done in a legal, transparent, and appropriate manner and is being tallied by the book. In Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, officials did count just over 2,000 votes, even though they arrived without a date, but did not count the same number of ballots, missing their secrecy envelope, the so-called naked ballots.
And that was ruled by the Supreme Court that we cannot count those. They will be set aside and not counted.
In a Trump campaign lawsuit challenging votes in Montgomery County, the judge asked a Trump campaign lawyer this, quote, "Are you claiming that there is any fraud in connection with these 592 disputed ballots?" The reply, to my knowledge, at present, no. In Texas, a bounty announced for voter fraud cases. Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says he will pay $25,000 for voter fraud tips that lead to the arrest and conviction of fraudsters. He says he has put aside $1 million for the rewards, his campaign coffers covering the cost that could spawn up to 40 cases. Patrick's office tells us they don't have any voter fraud cases yet because the cases are first referred to local law enforcement. But Texas has had some recent cases. In September, a Democratic county commissioner was charged in a mail-in voter fraud case. And just last week, a woman who works at a group home was charged with 134 counts of voter fraud for allegedly submitting the ballots of people who have been deemed mentally incompetent. They are ineligible to vote.
Our question this morning, do you think the Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election? You can log on to Facebook, give us your comments, or take part in our Insta poll. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Health Watch is next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a Lawrence, Kansas man spent 35 days in the hospital battling COVID-19. He says nurses helped save his life, 66 of them to be exact. Jordan Betts explains how he is honoring them.
Well, number 2 was Tanya. She was one of my first day nurses on 7/9. You know, Kyle, who was one of the day nurses, a male nurse on 7/13.
This is a list that saved John Rathbun's life.
In fact, they had called my wife and said, "Hey, there's a good chance John's going to be put on a ventilator. Does he have a DNR?"
Rathbun's battle with COVID-19 kept him at Lawrence Memorial Hospital for 35 days. It was a dark time made brighter by different nurses and therapists who added their names to this board. It was from those names an idea was born.
I took my phone out and typed their name in. I'm an old salesman, and I wanted to keep track. I want to know people's names.
By the end, the list grew to 66 nurses, and Rathbun has a story about every single one of them, like number 2.
Tanya was the one who gave me ice cream to make the insure go down a little bit easier. Summer was a respiratory therapist who, on the night of 7/25, figured out that I had the wrong mask, and she went and got me a new one, and it just made all the difference in the world.
Because when he was scared, there they were.
Summer just reached down with her blue gloved hand and grabbed a hold of mine and looked at me and said, "You get a good night's sleep tonight, John, okay? You deserve it." Just those kinds of things.
Rathbun is back at home recovering, and while he does that, it's this list that reminds him that there are guardian angels in the world.
I owe my life to every single one of those people who took care of me.
Rathbun has plans to say thank you in person to at least some of the nurses on his list. Early and repeated exposure to x-rays and CT scans may increase the risk of testicular cancer. Researchers from Penn Medicine found men who underwent diagnostic radiation below the waist at least 3 times had a 59% increased risk of having a testicular tumor. How long it takes a woman to become pregnant may depend on her preferred type of contraception and when she stops using it. U.S. Danish researchers say women who use hormonal IUDs had to wait the longest, up to 8 months, for their fertility to return after they stopped using the devices. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Setting up for a cool morning, but a nice afternoon up into the mid-60s. We'll see gradually increasing cloud cover, staying dry for the most part, though. Next shot for thunderstorm activity presents itself tomorrow evening. Be back right after this.
A Pittsburgh man and his daughter file an ADA complaint against Freeman Hospital. We'll have the latest. Plus, police arrest a man in Utah who says he was on his way to kill former Senator Claire McCaskill, and how folks across the 4 states celebrated Veterans Day.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour are something to talk about this morning about the Trump campaign election fraud as results. Lawsuits. We want to know whether or not you think they will change the outcome of the election. You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
I want to take a look for the Freeman Health System sky camera to begin our Thursday morning. It's a chilly one. 34 degrees is where we stand with a wind chill of only 27. We avoid any of the freeze warnings that we had yesterday, as we're already seeing a 40 in Chanute, 35 in Carthage, and 37 in Pittsburgh. Now, as we transition to the Skywatch Storm Tracker, remember, it's going to be a great time to look for Venus and Mercury. Find the moon, go straight down from it. Mercury will be the brightest one that you'll see first, and then if you drop down toward the horizon, then you'll see Mercury. And if you live in the east, south, it's a great morning for it. A little bit of cloud cover, going to obscure that view just a tad there as you work up to the northwest. Bus stop forecast, we'll call sunrise 6:54 over Joplin, clear and cool. Wind's going to shift on us, going to come in from the south early, but eventually it's going to work around and come in from the west this afternoon. That increases our clouds a little bit. Also, too, we're going to go 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting up to 20 to 25, a little bit blustery, but no worries on future track. Any precip we have today, just going to be light sprinkles along 44. Friday evening, here we go. It comes in from the southwest. Gulf moisture rolls through onto Saturday morning. Got some heavy rain with that as well. Now, we should be able to kick it out, at least the widespread stuff for the afternoon. Just lingers for the most part. It'll be light after that, mostly cloudy. Temperatures, though, all the way up into the 60s on Saturday. A little bit cooler on Sunday, but good dose of sunshine following up on that rain.
Yeah, nice to have a few sunny days after the rain that we definitely need.
Yeah, I'm going to go see if I can't get some shots of Venus and Mercury.
That'd be cool.
It's cool.
All right. We need our good friend Emmett to take some pictures for us. Put a call out. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Pittsburgh, Kansas man says his daughter was asked to leave Freeman Hospital in Joplin because she had a service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went into Freeman for surgery in August of this year. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with this disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. And now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA. The Joplin Health Department is reporting 6 more COVID-19 deaths. 5 of the patients were residents in long-term care facilities. Those include 2 men ages 90 and 94 and 3 women 73, 96, and 98. The 6th patient was a 90-year-old man. This brings the city's total death count to 48 deaths. To get the latest COVID statistics from other areas of the 4 states, you can click on the link at the top of our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, a man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase in Summit County. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to court documents, he threatened McCaskill several times. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threat of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. Plenty of pomp and circumstance at the Oklahoma State Capitol yesterday as members of the House of Representatives were sworn in. Don't expect that feeling to last long. Aaron Bilbrecht has the latest.
Today, all 101 members of the State House of Representatives were sworn in. It'll probably be their last real celebration as they face a huge budget deficit. COVID-19 is expected to have a huge impact on the state budget next year. Tax revenue is down, especially from the oil and gas industry, and expenses are up. That includes a Medicaid expansion program that is expected to cost the state an additional $160 million a year. So today's swearing-in celebration.
It will be a short-lived celebration. Next session is going to be extremely difficult with the budget crisis that I expect we'll have as a result of the downturn in the economy from COVID.
Today, we want, as you said, is ceremonial, but we go to work tomorrow and start working on the challenges that we know we're going to face this next year.
In 2017, the state faced a $1 billion budget shortfall. Talk in the hallways of the Capitol is that we could exceed that deficit.
And Oklahoma doesn't really have room to cut in any of its core governmental services. So as a result of that, if we're facing another $1 billion budget deficit, it is going to be a very difficult year to get core governmental services funded.
State Representative J.J. Humphrey of Lane disagrees. He says there's still plenty of fat to cut, and legislators had better start sharpening their budget knives.
We never have done a good job in cutting because we've never looked at the real issues, and we've got a lot of jobs in government that are really, really waste. And we're paying lots of people really huge salaries. I'm a Republican, and they always swear less government. Maybe it's time we start practicing what we preach.
Oklahoma State legislative session begins February 1st. Pittsburgh State University held a virtual Veterans Day ceremony yesterday to honor those who have served and who are still serving our country. The ceremony took on a different approach this year, not just by being virtual, but by including 4 veterans who shared their experience in a documentary style. Each veteran served at a different time, spanning back to World War II. The Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students.
The ceremony gives those watching a deeper sense of the importance of Veterans Day and a deeper sense of the sacrifices that our veterans have put forward throughout their lives.
Virtual experience included the PSU ROTC Color Guard, PSU Choir, new pavers, and a message from the Pitt State President, Steve Scott. Well, kids at the Harry S. Truman Elementary School in Webb City had a Veterans Day parade, but they weren't riding in the parade. The students lined the school's parking lot, held signs and banners, and then local veterans drove through the parking lot. Well, same idea and same important gesture of thanks and honor at St. Mary's Elementary in Pittsburgh. About 20 cars participated in the parade.
They could have lost their lives during this, and they gave up their lives to just go do this for us, and that's just really amazing.
Kids enjoyed waving to the veterans and chanting USA. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. How a Kansas farm using horses to help military veterans transition from combat to civilian life. Plus, a Spanish artist tries to restore a nearly century-old statue. Let's just say it didn't go so well. That story in a bit. But first, it's 5:37.
A bit of chill in the air here as our temperatures are in the 30s, couple 40s out there in Monette, Chanute, and Cassville for our day planner. Eventually up into the 60s. Clouds coming and going, but any precip we see today is going to be light sprinkles. Thunderstorm activity kicks in tomorrow evening. Be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the Olympic Games will go on. This as the International Olympic Committee president prepares to make a trip to Tokyo to finalize COVID safety measures. Rick Leventhal has more on how officials will keep both athletes and fans safe.
The Games will go on.
Whether cancellation will be discussed, the answer is no.
International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach says Tokyo's postponed 2020 Olympic Games will take place next summer with a commitment to keeping the athletes safe.
Given the latest and the very recent developments with regard to rapid testing and vaccination, we are very confident that we can offer a safe environment for all the athletes.
The announcement comes just days after drug maker Pfizer reported their coronavirus vaccine is more than 90% effective, and days before Bach heads to Japan's capital to hammer out what he's calling a toolbox of COVID countermeasures, like possible travel restrictions and quarantining, along with rapid testing and vaccines. And it looks like some fans will be allowed in the stands. Right now, Bach believes Japan's recent handling of the virus, including holding an international gymnastics meet over the weekend, will allow for limited spectators.
How many and under which conditions, again, depends very much on the future developments.
An unprecedented decision was made in March to postpone the Summer Olympics until 2021 due to the pandemic. The games are now scheduled to begin July 23rd.
With the shortened NBA season agreed upon this week, LeBron James and some of the biggest names in basketball will be able to compete in the Tokyo Games. More than a dozen men have been arrested for their alleged involvement in a child abuse network spanning the globe. Australian officials took 14 men into custody, including one former child care worker, for producing and sharing child abuse material on an online forum. It's the result of a massive international probe into a child abuse network. The accused are facing more than 800 charges, mostly involving child exploitation, but some involve bestiality. The report highlights 46 victims, 16 of which all came from one daycare center, with ages spanning from as young as 16 months to 15 years. The arrest made in Australia led to tips to authorities from Europe, Asia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United States regarding potential child predators and victims of child abuse. At least 5 people lost their lives after a rubber boat carrying migrants burst in the central Mediterranean Sea. The boat was headed to Europe with 100 people on board, including babies, small children, and a pregnant woman. For hours, the migrant rescue group Open Arms looked for the vessel in the international waters north of Libya, finally located the wreck and its occupants. The rescue group is still counting the number of survivors. It says, though, at least 5 people are confirmed dead. Well, someone has dropped the ball big time on another art restoration in Spain. A 1923 statue of a smiling woman surrounded by livestock is part of a bank facade in Palencia. Instead of getting her broken face restored, she's been disfigured by a well-meaning but apparently incompetent artist. It's being called the Potato Head of Palencia. No one's owned up to the work, and there's no word on who, if anyone, commissioned it. What brings to mind the famous fail of a restoration of a flaking fresco of Jesus on a church wall in Borja, Spain. It earned the infamous name of Monkey Jesus. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, as the vote counting continues, the Trump campaign presses forward with lawsuits seeking to challenge election results. Our question to you is, do you think that the lawsuits will change the outcome of the election? People coming in strong with pictures today. Kenny Kimmel says, of course not. Biden beat him in the popular vote by 4 million votes. That surpasses the 2 million that Hillary beat him by. He's just not a very popular person. Like I said, pictures are coming in strong today. That's from Michael McDaniel. I'll let you read. Michelle, that's a good one. I'll let people read it. Michelle says, morning, KOA. Good morning, Michelle. Doubt it, but he has the right to challenge it. This all needs to be done by Inauguration Day, January 20, 2021. Both sides just need to accept the results and put on their big boy panties. And I'm going to take time and get guys here because I love what he points out. It says the Trump administration's only sword through the heart of election illegalities is whether or not the Supreme Court decides that governors, secretaries of state, or state Supreme Courts have the right to make or change existing election laws. This is a key fact. This key right here that the guy points out. The Constitution says they do not. He says if the Supreme Court agrees to take the case in Pennsylvania, the issue isn't to prove fraud, but rather illegal changes to election laws. Encourage you to read Guy's post there. It's very well put together. Thank you, Guy, for that. On the KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning. This close one right now. It's going back and forth, updating as we go. As a matter of fact, how about 50-50 before we go to break? News you need to know before you walk out the door. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. See if we can break a tie here when we come back. News you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. President-elect Joe Biden made his first White House appointment on Wednesday night, hiring Ron Klain to be his chief of staff. Klain held the same role under Biden at the start of his vice presidency. The 59-year-old also served as President Obama's Ebola czar, overseeing the federal response to the outbreak that began in 2014. A man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Stahl faces several charges, including threat of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. A Pittsburgh man says his daughter was asked to leave Freeman Hospital in Joplin because she had a service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went into Freeman for surgery in August of this year. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. Now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA. Missouri Southern announces it'll move back to online-only classes, and that starts after the Thanksgiving break. There are some exceptions for clinical and field-based learning. MSSU says if conditions allow, the university will return to face-to-face learning for the spring term. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Clear, cool, crisp morning. Going to be followed by some increased cloud cover, able to make it up into the mid-60s here. Now overnight down to, if not below, the freezing mark, and then we sit back and wait for thunderstorm development for Friday evening that carries us into Saturday. All the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
As we honor those who have served in our military, it's important to pay close attention to their stories and their struggles. Carolyn Long tells us about a Kansas farm specifically created to help vets transition from combat life to civilian life.
Obviously, the stressors that come with the job, be it from combat or tours, just the stress in general of just being in the United States military, and that's a huge honor, but at the same time, it does take its toll.
When Army veteran Patrick Benson came back from serving in the infantry in Iraq, he knew he didn't feel quite right, physically or emotionally. The only place he found relief was on the farm, when he focused on these beautiful 1,000-pound, non-judgmental animals.
They teach you to, like I always say, to feel again, and I can't lie to them. They sense, they can sense your anxiety, your stress.
Benson knew he just had to share this gift, so he started a nonprofit called War Horses for Veterans.
What we're doing is just, it's just a blessing, to be honest with you.
Since 2015, Benson has flown in combat vets and small groups from all parts of the country to spend a week with the ranchers, horses, and most importantly, fellow vets here on this beautiful, secluded farm in Stillwell, Kansas.
Going from that world into the civilian life, it is not easy.
There's no cost to the veteran. Transportation, hotel, meals, all provided. It's through this time with others who truly get it, and the work with the horses that allows them to open up, trust, communicate, and just be present.
I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times that the majority of them haven't been present for a long time. There's been Vietnam veterans that said they haven't been this clear in 50 years.
Benson's favorite part? Watching as these veterans, many with no previous experience with a horse or ranch life, just breathe.
You'll watch people literally just go, and then that horse will go from slow, and they'll soften, and they'll mirror what you're doing.
Of course, the pandemic put a wrench on their fundraising plans, and the plans to fly in veterans is planned in 2020. But Benson says the need is greater than ever, so the charity is determined to continue and is offering their help right now to veterans in the metro and have started to help local first responders, too.
We're in more demand now than ever.
Another great program with horses. Love to see those. Michael?
All right, Tanya, on the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning, we are asking you if you think the Trump administration lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. We'll pick our comments back up with Will Patriots, who says Trump will win. Rick Norton says the rule of law must play out, but this will be a fight to defeat the level of corruption in our nation, a fight that has gone on for the last 4 years. Fight the legal way until all votes are counted correctly. Club member Rick Norton. Janelle Kinney Hale says it's over. I'm not going to call names. He's only trying to take all of us down with him. Don't only look at what the left hand is doing, just make sure you keep an eye out for what he's doing with his right hand as well. Jan 20, Janelle says, can't come soon enough. Now, Larry and Sheila Price, they say Trump 2020. Like I said, people coming in strong with the GIFs and the memes and the pictures this morning. Melissa McKinney, how about little Cary Grant? I believe His Girl Friday is what it's from. If I'm wrong, Facebook Tanya. Tell her that I'm wrong. She'll get it right on it. All right, we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. My bad, I forgot the Instapoll update. Asking, do you think Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election? And we've seen this one go back and forth. A while ago, it was split down the middle. Right now, it's the no's with 45%, the yeses chiming in with 55%. Yeah, it's going to change. 7-day forecast, mid-60s later on today. Cloud cover increasing. Thunderstorm activity begins Friday evening. Carries us into Saturday. More KOAM Morning News right after this.
A Pittsburgh man and his daughter file an ADA complaint against Freeman Hospital. We'll have the latest. Plus, police arrest a man in Utah who says he was on his way to kill former Senator Claire McCaskill, and how folks across the 4 states celebrated Veterans Day.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we'll hear from a local doctor on how you can tell the difference between flu symptoms and COVID symptoms. And President Trump's legal team continues to challenge election results in the courts. For something to talk about, we want to know whether or not you think the lawsuits will affect the election's outcome. You can also vote in our Instapoll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
A little bit chilly outside. Freeman Health System sky camera puts us at 43 degrees. Nice thing is that wind chill at one point in time stood at 27. So bump it up to 38, that's not too bad right now. 40 in Chanute, 47 already in Neosho. Doing something right down there, 35 in Miami. Now, from the Skywatch Storm Tracker, seeing a little cloud cover build up in the north and the west, making its way across the state line into southwest Missouri. But you'll notice there's no precip underneath it. Let's get our bearings right here, if you will. All right, so you see the crescent of the moon up at the top, and then right below it, that's Venus. And then if you keep on going down toward the horizon, you'll get a great shot of Mercury as well. But the big bright one is that's going to be Venus, and it's absolutely gorgeous if you got those clear skies on this Thursday morning. On the bus stop forecast, sunrise at 6:54 and a little south breeze. Now you'll notice those panels, they're full of sunshine. Well, that's going to change a little bit because that cloud cover that we talked about earlier kind of going to come and go. But still, at the same point in time, we're able to make it up into the 60s. So it's going to be a delightful Thursday. Now, 2 things. Number one, see, if we get anything, it's just going to be some light sprinkles along the south of I-44. Tomorrow morning is going to be chilly, and then tomorrow evening, there we go. There's thunderstorm activity that rolls in from the southwest, continues all the way through Saturday morning. Some heavy rains there early Saturday morning. Then it kind of lingers, gets a little spotty after that. Still able to make it up into the 60s on Saturday. Sunday is going to be full of sunshine, just a little bit cooler. We'll go mid-50s.
Not too shabby come Sunday. And if we can
lot of sunshine
after
after we can kick that cloud cover from the thunderstorms. A lot of sunshine.
Are we still looking at morning rains on Saturday?
Yep. Friday night into Saturday morning should be done probably about 1-2 p.m. as it pushes off to the east. And then after that, instead of an elongated band that's widespread, we'll go mostly scattered showers. That'll last till about 4 or 5.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Pittsburgh man and his daughter have filed a complaint with the ADA against Joplin's Freeman Hospital after an incident in August. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
Bob McLaughlin's daughter, Shannon, has his medical power of attorney. So when he went in for a surgery at Freeman Hospital West in August, she came down from Idaho to be there. Shannon has a disability and has a service dog to help her. Bob was expecting his daughter to see him in his room after his surgery, but found out she'd been asked to leave.
Of course, I had just come out from anesthesia, but I knew well enough that this was a public access area. And by federal regulation, her dog is allowed in public access areas.
Shannon has had her service dog, Darby, for 5 years and is now an advocate for service dog education. She says until August 26th, she'd had no issues at Freeman.
I was on the 3rd floor and an x-ray and in pre-op testing, and no one ever said anything. I called to make sure that there would be no problems.
Then, when she went to wait for her dad, a woman approached her.
The lady comes out, she goes, actually, so you're not allowed up here? This floor is off limits to animals. And I said, okay, well, my dog is a working service dog. She's a medical alert dog. I am disabled according to the ADA.
She said she told that woman about the service dog, but still was later told she had to go.
I continued my education, tried to advocate for myself. My heart rate got really high. My dog starts alerting. And she goes, look, you can either leave or I will call security and have you escorted out of the hospital. Your choice.
Local attorney Timothy in testimony says ADA has clear rules and regulations about service animals.
You know, the ADA says if I can go there without a disability, then somebody with a disability has a full and absolute right to go there. So when we talk about in the medical field, of all places, I would think they would be most aware of the guidelines.
Shannon and in testimony say they both know that there are certain areas of a hospital service animals can't go into, but the floor her father was on was not a restricted area.
I've tried to advocate and I've spoken with their PR team and tried to work through this politely, only to be told that as far as they're concerned, they're right, I'm wrong, and have a nice day, go away now.
We reached out to Freeman, who provided us this statement saying, quote, Freeman Health System complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act and recognizes the valuable role service animals play in the lives of our patients and visitors. Freeman contracts with local service animal owners to regularly provide therapeutic visits to patients in our hospital. Freeman takes any concern or complaint regarding non-compliance with the ADA very seriously and is currently investigating this complaint. I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Well, Bob and Shannon both say Freeman had come out in the beginning and apologized for what they consider as an error. They would not have filed a complaint with the ADA. Freeman Hospital is changing its visitor policy. Starting this morning, patients will be allowed only one visitor per day. Freeman CEO Paula Baker explains there are some exceptions.
So they can have one visitor, but one visitor only for the day. Now, there are some exceptions. End of life will be an exception, pediatrics, the NICU. So there are some exceptions, and exceptions can be made also in special situations.
Baker says the changes are due to an increase in COVID-19 cases in the community. A man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase in Summit County. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to court documents, he threatened McCaskill several times. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threat of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. Pittsburgh State University yesterday held a virtual Veterans Day ceremony. The fact that it was virtual wasn't the only difference this year. The ceremony included 4 veterans who shared their experience in a documentary. Each veteran served at a different time, spanning back to World War II. Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students. World War II veteran Louis Saketa was honored to be included in the ceremony.
Very nice. It goes to show you that somebody's thinking about you.
Awesome to hear from him. The virtual experience included the PSU ROTC Color Guard, PSU's choir, new pavers, a message from Pitt State President Steve Scott. Kansas City, Missouri's National World War I Museum celebrated Veterans Day with a special legacy jump. It featured an all-veteran parachute team with a veteran from each war from World War II through the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. They landed on the iconic lawn of the Liberty Memorial. The oldest veteran on the jump was 96-year-old World War II vet Peter Belskis. Former Navy SEAL and Purple Heart recipient Ryan Birdman Parrott led the team. The museum is also offering free admission to veterans and active duty military this week. 6:07.
You can see some light sprinkles here along south of I-44. That's not going to amount to anything. Up into the mid-60s later on today. It's going to be chilly Friday morning, and then thunderstorm activity develops for Friday evening, carries us all the way through the night into Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, get a little break, comes more scattered. And you can tell on the left-hand side there, Saturday evening, clouds begin to clear out. A little bit cooler on the backside of it, but a sunny Sunday in the mid-50s.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, for Midday Thursday, we look at how to differentiate symptoms of COVID-19, seasonal flu, and the common cold. Plus how COVID-19 could overwhelm some hospitals in the coming months, and why you can now get insurance on your Thanksgiving turkey. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, with the CDC urging Americans to do their part to slow the spread of COVID-19, more people may be hosting their own small Thanksgiving and cooking their own turkey this year instead of with a larger group. And since turkey can be tricky, a national grocery chain is teaming up with an insurance company to offer their first ever turkey insurance. Mandy Gaither explains.
If culinary arts isn't your calling, then cooking a Thanksgiving turkey can be tricky. That's why Whole Foods has teamed up with Progressive Insurance to provide their first ever Thanksgiving Turkey Protection Plan. If you have a turkey cooking fail, whether it's overcooked, undercooked, burnt dry, or just doesn't taste right, Whole Foods is offering a $35 gift card as insurance. To be eligible, shoppers have to buy their Whole Foods Market brand turkey between now and November 22nd. Then beginning November 26th through 3 a.m. the next day, be one of the first 1,000 people to submit a claim on a special website if things don't go as planned in the kitchen. The grocer saying the plan allows customers the freedom of culinary exploration, knowing all is not lost should their cooking go astray. Adding, we want to help customers rise to the occasion and take on that turkey with confidence for less stressed Thanksgiving meal preparation. Around 40 million turkeys are eaten over the Thanksgiving holiday annually, according to the National Turkey Federation. The group does not expect that figure to change much this year. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
To submit a claim, you'll need your entire Foods Market receipt, a picture of your turkey fail, and a brief explanation of what went wrong. Wonder what they'll do with that. Well, Google is ending unlimited storage of photos starting in June of next year. The tech giant is putting in a 15 gigabyte cap. Anything uploaded before that will not be affected. Google says 80% of users will not hit the cap for at least 3 years. For those that do, Google One offers 100 gigs for $2 a month. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our Insta poll this morning, asking you if you think the Trump administration lawsuits will change the election results. We'll resume our Facebook comments with Judy Clement. Judy writes, what if the recount goes the other way and Biden gets more votes? She asks, is fraud limited to just one party? Like I said, the graphic, you guys are just coming in with the graphics all over the place this morning. Dave Pitts Sr. says enough smoke and mirrors. Get off the White House lawn, taking the club to D.C. Ken Tullis says there's no way for Trump to win. His lawsuits are frivolous and being thrown out. The money his faithful are sending him, at least 60% of it, is not going for Trump's legal defense for these legal actions. It's going to pay campaign bills. Just another way for him to use his supporters, and they aren't smart enough to see it or just don't care. And Sherry Wilson with another picture says that even Trump's lawyers aren't willing to lose their licenses over this. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, asking if you think the lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. Right now, 53% of you say yes, those lawsuits are going to have some effect. And you can take part in our Insta poll. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back right after this. Live shot outside of Television City in what is a gorgeous, gorgeous morning. Look at that, I can't beat it. All right, if you look off to the east, it's not in our camera shot here. It's kind of is getting too light to see it, but right below the moon, gorgeous shot of Venus, still visible right now. Look at what we were at 1 year ago today. 11 degrees. My goodness, that's back-to-back records from 2019 from yesterday and then into the day. So even though there's a little chill in the air from the Freeman Health System sky camera, a whole lot better than 11. Still wind chill at 38 degrees. These are temperatures, not actual wind chills, just temperatures. 36 in Pittsburgh, 35 in Miami, and 36s in both Fort Scott and Nevada. We'll call sunrise on the bus stop forecast, 6:54 this morning over Joplin. Clear and cool with just a little south breeze. Starting to see some clouds intrude. We noticed that from the sky camera there. As like I said, provides for a gorgeous sunrise. But it is moving across into southwest Missouri right there. South really is going to stay pretty clear for the most part until later on this afternoon. Cold front still has made its way to the deep southeast. You'll notice the line of thunderstorm activity from the mid-Atlantic, and of course, the big talker is Ada, made landfall about 2 hours ago, has already worked its way into the central portion of Florida right there. 45-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and eventually by the end of the afternoon it'll make its way out of Florida, but of course torrential rainfall, and not only that, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of rain there as it makes its way across North Florida. We're going to be in the mid-60s today. If you see any sprinkles, it'll be along and south of I-44. This will really be the big development Friday evening, as we'll have thunderstorms that will carry us from Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, here's our own Jesse Irwin in Studio K.
Well, as it gets colder outside, it can be difficult to know whether, maybe some sniffles you have or other symptoms are a cold or something more. And this morning, we're joined by Jessica Liberty. She is the Infection Prevention and Control Manager at Freeman Hospital. And when it comes to breaking down the symptoms that we have, what's the first place that we should start if we start to feel not ourselves?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to call your primary physician if you have one, and just reach out to them and talk to them about the symptoms and go over when your symptoms started and the severity of your symptoms. And if you don't have access to a physician, then you could always call the physician referral line. There are lots of clinics in this area that can kind of walk you through that. You could also get on the CDC website. There's some great resources and summaries of the different types of symptoms that you would see for different respiratory illnesses that you commonly see during this time of year, including the symptoms of COVID-19.
So when I look at this list of symptoms, right, you've cough, fever, body ache, shortness of breath, headache, fatigue, sore throat, loss of taste. I mean, there's all these different symptoms we could feel, and ultimately these symptoms don't just apply to these 4 potential diagnoses, but it's a lot more as well. And so which of these do you think is sort of the most common, and which of these might be the most telling as to what direction we might be heading?
Sure, absolutely. Well, a lot of the symptoms, for our common cold and influenza and COVID kind of bleed into each other. There are obviously some very telling symptoms as it relates to the COVID-19 illness, like loss of taste and smell. Those 2 symptoms are symptoms you typically don't see with your common cold or influenza. When it comes to influenza and COVID, I feel like both of those 2 illnesses mirror each other the most. You're more likely to see a fever with COVID and influenza. With common cold, you typically don't see a fever. You may have a runny nose with a common cold. You may or may not have that with influenza and COVID-19. And typically, influenza symptoms, you experience more body aches and you have the chills, and you may or may not have that with COVID-19. You typically don't see either one of those symptoms with your common cold.
All right, we're going to have this chart that Jessica's office has put together on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. It breaks down each of the symptoms for the cold, influenza, the norovirus, stomach bug, and of course COVID-19. We'll have that on our site. We'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the United States hit an all-time daily high of more than 140,000 new cases on Wednesday. Health officials say the coronavirus pandemic will likely play a major factor into the new year. John Lawrence reports.
COVID-19 is tightening its grip on the United States.
There's been a little dip here and there,
but now we're basically going into exponential growth.
According to Johns Hopkins University, there are more than 10 million known COVID-19 cases in the U.S., and nearly every state is seeing a rise in week-to-week infections.
I am really frightened by the spike that we're seeing in cases right now.
Many hospitals across the country are overwhelmed, including North Dakota, where facilities are at full capacity.
They're already, figuring out how to send patients to South Dakota and Montana now.
Although drug makers like Pfizer and Moderna are making medical strides,
vaccination is not going to be a fairy tale ending to the pandemic. We're still going to be dealing with it at least through most or all of 2021 and quite possibly beyond that.
Until a vaccine is available nationwide, health officials say the public should take action to prevent the virus from spreading even faster.
Wear a mask. Also make note that if you are sick, don't go into the public. If you have symptoms that are similar to what might be COVID, be sure and get tested, and then isolate yourself and quarantine away.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The White House's coronavirus task force is warning states about accelerating spread of COVID-19 and is calling on several states to expand testing, especially to help identify asymptomatic cases. Well, a doctor at Freeman Health System Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is being recognized for his military service. Dr. Adam Kessler served in the Army for 11 years. During his service, he worked as a paratrooper and as a physician's assistant. After the Army, he went on to earn his medical degree. Dr. Kessler says his time in the military prepared him for life in the medical field.
It's crazy, but I think it did help me in the fact I know quickly how to triage people, know what I need right away. So, in residency, trying to teach that to younger residents is hard to do because they get flustered very quickly.
Dr. Kessler joined Freeman in August as an orthopedic traumatologist. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Weather trend for today is going to send us from the mid to high 30s where we are right now all the way into the mid 60s later on. Cloud covered, gradually building. Back right after this.
A Pittsburgh man and his daughter file an ADA complaint against Freeman Hospital. We'll have the latest. Plus, police arrest a man in Utah who says he was on his way to kill former Senator Claire McCaskill, and how folks across the 4 states celebrated Veterans Day.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, President-elect Joe Biden takes the first steps in the transition process while current President Trump continues legal challenges. We'll have the latest. Something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We're asking if you think the Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. You can also vote in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
And from the Freeman Health System sky camera, it is a cool Thursday morning. 43 degrees is where we stand right now with a wind chill of 38. But we're putting a lot more 40s on the board than what we had last time we checked. 43 in Carthage, 47 in Neosho, 40 in Anderson. It's been 40 in Chanute all morning long, so not too bad. The clouds up to the north moving from west to east right there. Everybody down in the central and south going to stay pretty clear. Live look from the mothership. Absolutely gorgeous start. Bus stop forecast. Sunrise will officially be over Joplin at 6:54. No worries for the kids. Just make sure they stay warm out there. We're already talking the 50s by the time we get to that 9 o'clock recess time. As the cold front has penetrated now down through Arkansas, and Ada has made land over central Florida. Back here in the 4 states, all the way up into the mid 60s later on today. Any precip that we see on this Thursday just going to amount to just pretty light sprinkle along and south of I-44. The big development's going to be tomorrow evening. So Friday it works in from the southwest. We get some heavy rains with it. We'll have some lightning as well as it rolls through in the early morning hours. Becomes more of the scattered variety there during Saturday afternoon. 7-day forecast shows us that Saturday is going to be similar into temperatures we're having today, mid 60s. Then Sunday a little bit cooler, but plenty of sunshine all the way into the beginning of next week.
All right. Sounds
not too shabby.
Oh, what do you got there? About to show us something fun?
Oh, I'm getting ready to post a picture of the moon and Venus.
Awesome.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Well, we're Looking forward to seeing that. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Pittsburgh man says his daughter was asked to leave Freeman Hospital in Joplin because she had a service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went into Freeman for surgery back in August of this year. His daughter Shannon came down from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. His daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. And now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA.
Of course, I had just come out from anesthesia, but I knew well enough that this was a public access area. And by federal regulation, her dog is allowed in public access areas. And they said, no, this is a hospital policy, and our director of 3rd and 4th floor has said the dog can't be here.
We reached out to Freeman Hospital, which provided us with this statement saying Freeman Health System complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act and recognizes the valuable role service animals play in the lives of our patients and visitors. Freeman takes any concern or complaint regarding non-compliance with the ADA very seriously and is currently investigating this complaint. A man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase in Summit County. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to court documents, he threatened McCaskill several times, and authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threat of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. Missouri Southern announces it'll move back to online-only classes, and that starts after the Thanksgiving break. There are some exceptions for clinical and field-based learning. MSSU said that if conditions allow, the university will return to face-to-face learning for the spring term. Pittsburgh State announced earlier it will also be returning to online learning after the Thanksgiving break. Pittsburgh State University provided a re-imaged experience for Veterans Day through a virtual ceremony. KOAM's Caitlin Shive spoke with one of the veterans involved about what it meant to be included.
Because of the pandemic, Pittsburgh State University went virtual this year for their Veterans Day ceremony.
Many of our alumni have fought and served this country. And so we wanted to kind of tap into that and have an opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper and talk to some of our local veterans, really spanning all the way back to World War II, all the way up to an individual who had been involved with more current conflicts.
The ceremony was a look into 4 veterans, Christopher Kimmick, Ron Sigley, Gene Corsini, and Louis Sacchetta, who all served at different times, sharing their experience in a documentary style. Sacchetta, who served in World War II from 1943 to 1946, was humbled to be included.
Well, I thought that would be quite an honor, which it ended up being. Very nice. It goes to show you that somebody's thinking about you.
He served in the Army as military police in Paris, France, a time he remembers well.
I ended up being a military police. I patrolled around the Eiffel Tower, Concord Street, the Champs-Élysées.
Veterans Day is something of great importance to him.
It's something unbelievable because that covers not just me, everybody. It's wonderful.
The ceremony also included the ROTC Color Guard, PSU Choir, new pavers added to the memorial, and a message from the PSU president.
The ceremony gives those watching a deeper sense of the importance of Veterans Day and a deeper sense of the sacrifices that our veterans have put forward throughout their lives.
In Pittsburgh, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
The Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students. Missouri State Treasurer is encouraging Missourians to search the unclaimed property database for unclaimed military medals and insignia. The Treasurer's Office says it currently holds 233 military medals and insignia, including 5 Purple Hearts, 4 Bronze Stars, and 90 other service medals. They say these come from safe deposit boxes at banks. The banks turn them over to the Treasurer's Office if they haven't been able to contact the owner for 5 years. You can find a full list of medals, names, and last known addresses through a link on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State students are trying to make sure every child has a gift this Christmas. Students in the Society of Architectural Woodworkers made more than 150 wooden toy trucks. It's awesome. Those trucks will be donated to the Toys for Tots campaign and given to families in need for Christmas.
I ask about as we start the year, what are we going to do this year for Toys for Tots? What's our idea? And so some of the students have really, taken a lot of initiative to do this. So it is a sense of pride for me as an instructor to see the passion they're putting into it.
Toys for Tots is a national program. In Pittsburgh, it's run through the Salvation Army Distribution Network. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a Chief of Staff selection.
President-elect Biden is moving forward and naming staff members despite the formal presidential transition being blocked. I'm Deborah Alfarone in Washington with the latest, including a recount.
Plus, do you think Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election? We let you weigh in our Something to Talk About, but first, it's 6:37.
No Emmett Sullivan, that's for sure. But give you an idea, outside of Television City, where you see the guy wires to our towers on the left, and of course the moon up above, and then that dot down below it, that is Venus. So just about done with it for the day as the skies begin to lighten up and we warm up into the mid-60s. Thunderstorm activity for Friday evening into Saturday morning. Nation Watch is next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, President Trump is continuing to challenge the results of the 2020 election, filing more lawsuits in battleground states. But election officials say they've seen no widespread evidence of voter fraud. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden is getting ready to take over, naming his White House Chief of Staff last night. Deborah Alfarone is in Washington with more.
President-elect Joe Biden has named Ron Klain as his chief of staff. Klain was Mr. Biden's right-hand man at the start of his vice presidency and later became President Obama's Ebola czar.
One of the key touchstones of what we did during the Ebola response in 2014, 2015 was to let science and expertise drive the response and not let politics drive the response.
The president-elect is expected to announce a number of cabinet positions this month. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was asked by CNN if he would like to be Labor Secretary.
If I had a portfolio that allowed me to stand up and fight for working families, would I do it? Yes, I would.
Mr. Biden is moving ahead with the transition despite President Trump's refusal to concede. While many Republicans are supporting the president's fight, all eyes are now turning to Georgia, where 2 runoff Senate races are drawing national attention.
All eyes in this country are on Georgia.
Republicans need to win just one of the 2 races in January to give them control of the Senate and the ability to put a check on the Biden administration.
The showdown of all showdowns in terms of politics and what it means.
Yesterday, Georgia's Secretary of State authorized a recount in the presidential race, though Mr. Biden's 14,000 vote lead is unlikely to be overturned.
This will help build confidence. It will be an audit, a recount, and a recanvass all at once.
Election officials across the country say they've seen no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Joe Biden's lead nationally is up to 5 million votes. He's at 77 million overall, and that number is expected to keep rising as more states finish counting absentee ballots. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll asking if you think the Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. And we'll pick back up our comments on Le Book with Robin Goodwin McCann. Robin writes, why did you not report the proof of fraud that was shown very clearly on public news? Why would you not say President Trump is doing this for all the people left or right, people for the future of the United States to have trust in our government and voting system? Robin says fake news will do anything to cause a hated divide. John Tribune says Trump 2020, he's the better choice. Good morning, America. You say good morning, John. And Rocky Cunningham says, nah, it probably won't change it. However, it is President Trump's right, if not responsibility, to exhaust all legal avenues before considering a concession. Pictures still coming in strong today. All right, on the KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning, it's gone back. It's been close all morning long. We've gone back and forth. Right now, just 51% to 49%, but 51% say no. You do not think the campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. Got all morning to vote? Take part by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Let's come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Leonard Swink, who served in the United States Army in 2003 and 2005. He fought in the Iraq War. His hometown, Neodesha, Kansas. We are proud to salute Leonard Swink, our four-state hero.
Let's begin with a magical number 7. It is Maya Chaplin. Look at that hairdo right there. That's something else, Miss Maya, and absolutely gorgeous. Maya is celebrating in Fort Scott. Happy birthday, kiddo.
All right, and we've got Vivian Thompson celebrating birthday number 7. Vivian is in Pittsburgh.
I like that hairdo as well. Pigtails right there. Well done, Vivian. Dixie Gideon celebrating her 11th birthday. Dixie, we want you to have a marvelous day in Goodman.
And we've got Brittany Murphy turning the big 3-0 this year. Happy birthday to Brittany in Erie.
Run out to Parsons for a 35th birthday and a little axe throwing for Aaron Hetty. Happy birthday, Aaron.
Ah, that's a fun way to celebrate your birthday for sure. And we've got Barbara Wicks. Wait a minute, I skipped one. Mark Thompson. How did I miss Mark? Mark is 60 years old this year. That's hard to believe. Mark in Pittsburgh.
And in Nevada, that is Barbara Wicks that you see there on the left. Little throwback picture. Happy birthday to you, Barbara. And we're going to have a little more information on her in just a little bit.
All right, happy birthday, Barbara. That's a great picture, and I love the classic ride in the background, too. That's cool.
Who this is?
All right, we've got our very own senior
What's up,
marketing
Di?
consultant. See her for all your advertising needs, Ms. Diane Cunningham.
You don't see all the work she does behind the scenes, folks, but you want to talk about a cog and a key asset here at KOAM. Di, we absolutely love you, and a very, very happy birthday to you, ma'am. Now, we were just talking about Barbara Wicks. Well, there's a gentleman by the name of Roger Broomfield who has a birthday in Prescott. And it just so happens that he and Barbara, who we saw in that throwback picture, they share the same birthday. They grew up in Prescott together, and years later, they remain very good friends. So, Roger, a happy birthday to you, and consider it coming from Barbara.
All right. And we can't forget Christina Hanna, who's turning 56 years old today.
All right, happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right, you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Now, we're going to have a little cloud cover that's going to show up not only today, but for the next couple of days. But if you have a chance, this is what I've been talking about here lately, really in between about 4, 6 a.m. It's still visible right now. Just, we lose a little bit of it with the light. But find the moon and then drop down, and it's a wonderful shot of Venus. And you'll be able to check this out all weekend long. I apologize for my photography. I'm no Emmett Sullivan. I can't compete with that. I just wanted to be able to show it to you in case you hadn't been able to be outside yet. When you do go outside, make sure you bundle up a little bit. Freeman Health System Sky Camera with a temperature of 43, only feeling like it's 38 right now. 37 in Parsons, 43 in Monette, and 34 in Miami. As far as the bus stop forecast goes, really no worries. Just a little cloud cover to the north. South remains very clear, a whole lot of sunshine, and a breeze very, very light. There's that aforementioned cloud cover. No precipitation to worry about on our Thursday morning as it all stays off to the mid-Atlantic up to the northeast. And we're going to have massive flooding concerns, of course, through the state of Florida as Tropical Storm Eta made landfall for the fourth time it's made landfall, and did so earlier this morning as it streaks across North Florida and will remain a tropical storm with that force all the way into the Atlantic. So that's pretty impressive that it's not going to slow down there over land. Back here in the 4 states, highs in the mid-60s. Overnight, well, temps are going to drop now. We're going to get down to, if not below, the freezing point. Now, as we transition into Friday, it's not only a cold morning that we'll talk about, but also, too, what develops for the evening hours. Bottom left-hand portion of your screen down to the southwest here for Friday evening. That's when the rains begin to roll in, and they'll continue into Saturday morning. Very, very heavy rain through the central part of the 4 states. We'll have thunder and lightning as well. And then as we work through Saturday morning, it begins to clear off, but you can tell there are little parcels that remain all the way into the early afternoon hours. After we dispatch of that, skies begin to clear off. Sunday is going to provide us with cooler temps, but a whole bunch of sunshine that carries us through the beginning of next week. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. President-elect Joe Biden made his first White House appointment on Wednesday night, hiring Ron Klain to be his chief of staff. Klain held the same role under Biden at the start of his vice presidency. 59-year-old also served as President Obama's Ebola czar, overseeing the federal response to the outbreak that began in 2014. A man arrested in Utah during a traffic stop is accused of threatening former U.S. Senator from Missouri Claire McCaskill. Utah Highway Patrol arrested George William Stahl Wednesday morning after a high-speed chase. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Stahl faces several charges, including threats of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. A Pittsburgh man says his daughter was asked to leave Freeman Hospital in Joplin because she had a service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went into Freeman for surgery in August of this year. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. And now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA. Missouri Southern announces it'll move back to online-only classes. That starts after the Thanksgiving break, and there are some exceptions for clinical and field-based learning. MSSU says that if conditions allow, the university will return to face-to-face learning for the spring term. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Temperatures up into the mid-60s today. Clouds going to come and go. If we do see any precip on our Thursday, it's going to be sprinkles south of I-44. Now let's talk some serious rain. That's going to develop Friday evening, take us all the way through the nighttime into Saturday morning. We're going to see times where it's going to come down at a very good clip. As it pushes out Saturday, it becomes more light and scattered. Temperatures still in the 60s on Saturday. Cooler on Sunday, but a whole bunch of sunshine all through the beginning of next week.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making chicken a la king in a hurry in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
All right, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you could switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And that's where we find our very own Jesse Irwin.
Yeah, well, it's a Midday Thursday, you guys. So we're going to be talking about what the differences are between COVID-19 symptoms, flu-like symptoms or flu symptoms, and the common cold, and so how to differentiate those. We're also looking at a clothing business that's really taken off since the pandemic started. And if you have a child on TikTok, you are not alone. There are 1.2 billion people on TikTok, and we'll have more details about how big it's gotten and where it's headed.
Looking forward to it, my man. Flip over, join us over there. We'll continue to roll our Facebook comments about Trump campaign election lawsuits and update the Insta poll that you still have time to take part in. Just go to komnewsnow.com/vote. That wraps it up for this Thursday edition. I want you to have a great, safe, wonderful day, and we'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.